Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're unzipping, maybe literally, the fascinating world of the global leather travel bag market. We're
Yeah,
going to unpack a really detailed forecast that gives an incredible peek into consumer trends, economic shifts,
yeah,
and maybe where your next carry-on is coming from.
that's right. And our source material for this deep dive, it's a comprehensive market research forecast. It gives us projections, compound annual growth rates, CGRs, for loads of regions, countries, all the way out to 2033. So our mission really is to pull out the key insights. What do these numbers really tell us about where the market's heading globally, beyond just, the raw data?
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with the big global picture first. Imagine a market big enough for billions of dollars. That's kind of the scale here for leather travel bags. It was valued at, USD 22,780.9 million back in 2021. And it's not just growing, it's really taking off. Rose to USD 22,163 million in 2025. And get this, it's projected to almost double to a massive USD 34,433.3 million by 2033. That's growing at a global CGR of 5.662%. So what is that? What does this overall growth suggest? Not just about bags, right? Maybe global activity.
Well, what's fascinating is a consistent 5.662% CAGR. It signals a very healthy market, wouldn't you say? A CAGR, just for anyone wondering, it sort of smooths out the bumps, the annual ups and downs. It shows us the average growth rate over time, gives a clearer picture of sustained expansion. And this strong global growth, it's not just people buying more bags, it speaks to bigger things. Think rising disposable incomes globally, travel coming back strong, maybe even growing, and maybe a consumer thing too, preference for durable stuff, quality goods, people investing in things that last. But yeah, while the overall picture is strong growth, the real insights, like always, are in the regional differences, the country variations. It shows us like different stages of market maturity, different things driving growth. Why are some areas growing faster?
That's a great point. It's definitely not a uniform story across the board. So let's zoom in a bit. How does North America, for example, stack up in this? It's a pretty significant slice of the pie, right? Market value was USD 4,765.28 million in 2021, growing to USD 5,762.38 million in 2025, and expected to reach USD 8,642.77 million by 2033. The CAGR there is 5.198%.
North America is definitely a major player. And, as you'd probably guess, the United States is the leader. Just sheer volume holds the lion's share. But what's really interesting when you look at the individual countries' CAGRs is Canada. So the U.S. market is huge, obviously. USD 3,734 million in 2021, heading to nearly 6.7 billion. But Canada, while smaller, starting at about 602 million, is actually projected to grow a bit faster. Canada's CAGR is 5.602%. Compare that to the U.S. at 5.113%.
Oh, interesting. So slightly faster pace.
Yeah. It could suggest maybe Canada's market isn't quite as saturated, or perhaps points to a growing affluent consumer base there, strong preference for luxury travel stuff. It's just about those different stages of market development, even within one region. Mexico's solid too, by the way, 5.34% at CGR.
That nuance in Canada's growth rate, yeah, that's a perfect example of what these numbers can show you. Okay, let's shift focus. Across the Atlantic, Europe, its market value. USD 3,822.89 million in 2021, rising to USD 4,632.07 million in 2025, and projected to hit USD 7,093.27 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 5.471%. So slightly higher than North America overall. What trends are we seeing in this, well, maybe more mature, but still pretty diverse market?
Europe's fascinating, really varied growth. You see pretty robust growth in places like Germany and the UK. Both are nearing a 6% CAGR. Germany's at 5.845%. UK is 5.718%. That probably reflects, strong economies, established luxury markets. People have the spending power. Then you've got significant markets like France, Italy, Russia, showing solid, but maybe slightly slower growth. Could indicate more mature markets, maybe more saturated, or just different consumer tastes. France, for instance, is at 4.86%. Italy's at 4.245% CAGR. Russia's around 5%, Spain 5.2%.
And the Nordic countries, Sweden, Denmark.
Yeah, Sweden's growing at 4.6%, Denmark a bit faster at 5.17%, Switzerland around 4.76%, even Luxembourg's there at nearly 5%. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The rest of Europe category. It actually has the region's highest CAGR. It's soaring at 6.442%.
Wow, the highest in Europe. For the rest
Exactly. This group, it's like all the smaller aggregated markets put together. It's projected to more than double its value. From about USD 650 million in 2021 to over 1.4 billion by 2033, this could be driven by, well, a few things. Maybe emerging luxury markets, say in Eastern Europe, or perhaps niche, high-end travel bag brands gaining ground in smaller Western European economies. It just suggests a more fragmented, maybe, but highly dynamic market beyond those traditional big players.
That rest of Europe insight really does highlight the kind of hidden gems you find in these forecasts.
Okay.
But now, let's talk about the real powerhouse, the undisputed growth engine of this market. Asia Pacific reached USD 6,472.24 million back in 2021, jumped to USD 8,111.66 million in 2025, and forecasted to hit an astounding USD 13,222.4 million by 2033. It boasts the strongest regional CAGR of all, 6.298%. So what is fueling this incredible momentum?
Yeah, Asia-Pacific isn't just growing, it's basically leading the charge globally. And when you look at the drivers, it becomes pretty clear why. China is right at the front. It has the highest individual country CAGR in the entire forecast, 6.836%. It's projected to grow from about $2.5 billion to over $5.3 billion by 2033. Huge.
Wow.
And hot on its heels is India, showing a remarkable 6.82% CAGR, set to more than double its market value too, from roughly $1.1 billion to $2.4 billion.
Incredible numbers.
And it's not just about the massive populations, right? It's about that rapidly expanding middle class, more disposable income, huge interest in international travel, and, strong appreciation for luxury goods, that status element maybe. Countries like Japan and South Korea, they're significant markets, but growing a bit slower, solid but slower, around 5% to 5.8% CAGR.
More mature markets, perhaps.
Exactly, more mature luxury markets already. And then collectively, you've got Southeast Asia and the rest of APAC. They also show really robust growth, above 5.5%, even above 6% for the rest of it. Just indicates this widespread enthusiasm for travel, for quality luggage right across the entire region. The sheer scale and the rapid growth here, is bound to have a profound global economic impact, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. It's incredible to see how these big economic shifts play out in a specific market like leather travel bags. Okay, let's move on. South America, a region also showing promising and pretty consistent growth, it looks like. Market value there, USD 1,049.07 million in 2021, growing to USD 1,529.25 million in 2025, and expected to reach USD 2,410.3 million by 2033. That's with a solid 5.852% CAGR.
Absolutely. South America has, a very strong and quite uniform growth trajectory across the whole region. Brazil leads the pack there. A robust 6.046% CAGR. It's projected to more than double its market value, hitting almost USD 830 million by 2033. What's also notable is Colombia, showing really impressive growth too at 6.019% CAGR.
Right up there with Brazil.
Exactly. And even countries like Argentina, Peru, Chile, they're all growing healthily. Above 5% CAGR, Chile at 5.5%, Argentina 5.3%, Peru 5.2%. So this widespread growth, it suggests a kind of regional trend, doesn't it? Economic development, more travel, maybe internal and international, and just a growing consumer appreciation for quality goods that, can handle diverse travel demands. The region as a whole seems to be on a clear upward path.
It's clear the desire for quality travel stuff is truly global. Okay, finally, let's turn our attention to the Middle East and Africa, two regions that offer maybe a slightly different story. Distinct market patterns. The Middle East market totaled USD 889.044 million in 2021, then 1,108 million in 2025, and it's projected to hit USD 1,549.5 million by 2033. That's expanding at a 4.28% CAGR.
Yeah, the Middle East, while it's growing, it shows a more moderate pace, slower than the global average. Saudi Arabia is the clear regional leader there, contributes a big chunk of the market, about 343 million in 2021, growing to over 600 million. Countries like Turkey, the UAE, Egypt, Qatar, they're all seeing steady growth, generally ranging from about 4.1% to 4.7% CAGR. UAE is highest at 4.7%. But what's particularly noteworthy, maybe even a bit surprising, is that the rest of Middle East category has the lowest CAGR in the entire source material we looked at. It's only 3.907%.
Really? Lowest of all?
Yeah, from about 75 million to 117 million. It could point to very specific market dynamics there, maybe a stronger preference for local brands, or perhaps different travel patterns that don't emphasize, international high-end luggage quite as much as other regions.
Hard to say for sure from just the numbers. That contrast is definitely important to notice. Okay, now moving to Africa. Its market grew from USD 782.359 million in 2021 to USD 1,019.5 million in 2025, and projected to reach USD 1,515.07 million by 2033, achieving a CAGR of 5.077%, so closer to the global average than the Middle East.
Right. Africa looks like a dynamic market, again with diverse patterns. Nigeria, for instance, is showing strong growth, 5.289% CAGR, projected to reach about 379 million. South Africa also contributes significantly, a big market value, growing steadily at 4.918% CAGR, headed towards 624 million. And the rest of Africa is also growing healthily at 5.1%. So when you look at the Middle East and Africa together, you can really see how varied the growth patterns are, even within these big aggregated regions. It's definitely not a single narrative, is it? It's more like many unfolding stories. Market development, influenced by evolving economies, infrastructure, unique consumer bases, all that stuff.
So what does this all mean for you listening in? We've just seen a snapshot of a truly thriving global leather travel bag market. Pretty impressive, right? But with significant regional variations in growth. Though Asia-Pacific is certainly dominating the narrative. That much is clear. Just to recap the big number, we're talking impressive global growth from about $17.8 billion US dollars in 2021 to a projected USD 34,433.3 million. That's over 34.4 billion by 2033. Almost doubling in just over a decade.
Yeah, and if we kind of connect this back to the bigger picture, these projections, even for a niche market like leather travel bags, they offer some really fascinating clues about broader global trends. Like, what might this consistent, pretty robust growth imply for the global travel industry as a whole, or maybe even for the wider luxury goods market? What do you think? And thinking beyond just these numbers, how might other factors influence things? Factors not captured here, like the growing demand for sustainable materials and fashion. That's huge now. Or maybe evolving travel habits, more minimalist travel, digital nomads. How might those things influence these forecasts in the long run? And what insights can you draw just about global economic shifts, consumer priorities, by seeing how specific countries and regions play their part in such a focused market? Lots to think about there.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where you're fast-tracked to understanding what's really moving the needle in key industries. Today, we're diving into something pretty interesting, that intersection of luxury and, well, sheer practicality. The leather travel bag market. We've got some exclusive insights here directly from cognitive market research, and we're going to unpack the global stories behind these high-end travel trends. Basically, our mission is to give you a shortcut, to get you really well informed about this luxurious but still very functional industry. We'll look at the surprising drivers, some significant challenges, and, yeah, the cutting-edge trends shaping how we travel and style. So let's jump right in. What's actually fueling this high-end segment right now?
Well, it's fascinating, really. One of the biggest forces, and maybe simpler than you'd think, it's the massive surge in global travel and tourism. With the world largely reopened after the pandemic, we're just seeing a lot more people traveling. Again, business, leisure, you name it.
Okay, so more people on the move.
Exactly. And these travelers, they're increasingly looking for luggage that isn't just, stylish. They want durable. They want high quality stuff. And that's really where leather travel bags come into their own. They're obviously prized for elegance, sure, but also for endurance. So they're benefiting directly from this demand. It's quite a significant shift.
Right. And I think we've got a specific example from the research that makes this really clear.
We do, yeah. Take the British luggage brand Antler. A good case study. They reported a pretty big jump, 13% in sales. They're projected to hit, 45 million pounds by February 2025.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of that is driven by that increased travel demand we were just talking about, plus their expansion into places like the US and Australia. It really shows how consumers are, actively investing more in premium travel gear.
For all sorts of trips, right? Not just long hauls.
Absolutely. Weekend getaways, international business, even like adventure tours. People are seeing the value and quality that lasts. You can really see it in the numbers.
That definitely clarifies the travel impact. But it makes me wonder, okay, durability and style are key, but are people asking for more now? Something more unique, maybe, personalized?
That's exactly right. That's a huge trend. Brands are definitely responding to this desire for, something special, something exclusive. They're offering more customization options. Things like classic monogramming, of course, but also more tech features, RFID protection, that radio frequency blocking tech, super important for protecting cards and passports.
Oh, yeah, essential these days.
Totally. And even GPS tracking built in, just for that extra peace of mind if your bag goes missing. And actually, a really neat example of this is Waterfield. They recently launched a leather luggage tag, but the interesting part is it was crowdsourced.
Crowdsourced in the luxury space.
Exactly. Which tells you something, right? It's not just the product itself, it's the process. It shows brands aren't just dictating style anymore. They're actually inviting their customers to co-create.
Wow.
Yeah, it builds this deeper connection, a sense of ownership. It's a clever way to merge that utility and premium design with features people actually asked for.
Okay, so we've got the demand side covered. Travel's up. People want quality, personalization, even tech. But let's flip to the other side. Luxury always has its costs, right? And with genuine leather, that cost, it's not just monetary, is it? It's tied up in the making, which creates a major restraint.
That's a really crucial point. Leather bags, genuine ones, they just cost more than synthetic or fabric alternatives, often a lot more.
Right.
And it's not arbitrary pricing. It really comes down to the production costs. You've got premium materials, sometimes ethically sourced, which adds complexity.
Right.
You need highly skilled artisans, people who've trained for years. And then there's the branding, the high-end perception. It all adds up.
And the research highlights a specific kind of mind-blowing example of this craftsmanship, doesn't it, with Hermes?
Oh, absolutely. The Hermes example is, well, it perfectly illustrates this. Their Birkin bag retails around $9,000, maybe more now. And that price isn't driven by some abstract marketing strategy. It's almost entirely down to the sheer amount of craftsmanship. Think about their Kelly bag. It starts with like 30 separate pieces of leather. And it takes up to 20 hours to make, start to finish.
20 hours.
20 hours. And get this, just the handle alone can take 4 hours.
4 hours for a handle.
Yeah. And every single piece is built by hand. There's no manual, no automation. It's purely the artisan's training and experience.
That really reframes handmade, doesn't it? It's not
Really?
just a label. It's, yeah, incredible dedication in each piece. But that dedication, that level of craft, while it creates immense value, it must also limit who can actually buy these things.
Exactly. That level of craftsmanship adds, unparalleled value and exclusivity, which is the appeal for some, but it absolutely limits accessibility, especially, say, in emerging markets where those price points are just, well, completely out of reach for most people. It creates a barrier.
Okay, so we understand the why, the drivers, and the inherent cost, the restraint. Let's pivot to the current landscape. What are modern travelers really looking for now, beyond just that baseline luxury? What trends did cognitive market research identify?
Well, the demand is definitely evolving. It's shifting towards a really compelling mix. Luxury, yes, but also serious functionality and increasingly smart tech integration. People don't just want bags that look good anymore. They need them to actually work for the complex demands of modern travel.
Right, practicality meets prestige.
Precisely. And we're seeing specific smart features becoming almost standard at the premium end. Things like GPS trackers for locating lost luggage.
Yeah.
Anti-theft locks, often built right in.
Yeah.
RFID blocking compartments, we mentioned those. And even really clever customizable organization sections inside. The brands that are really winning are the ones merging that traditional craftsmanship with this kind of useful innovation. They're hitting both the emotional and the practical needs.
That makes sense. Tech is changing everything.
Yeah.
But what about another big trend we hear so much about? Sustainability. Is that playing a role here?
Oh, massively, yeah.
Yeah.
Consumer consciousness about, how and where products are made is growing rapidly. People want the story behind the bag. They care about ethical sourcing of the leather things like animal welfare, fair labor. They care about eco-friendly panning processes, using fewer harsh chemicals, reducing water pollution. That's becoming really important. And of course, durability itself is seen as a form of sustainability, buying something that lasts for years or decades even, instead of replacing it constantly.
It really points to a more discerning consumer, doesn't it? Someone who's looking beyond just the surface, considering the whole life cycle, ethics, longevity, the whole package. Okay, that feels like a good place to wrap up our deep dive into the leather travel bag market. It seems pretty clear that whether you're traveling for business or fun, there's this growing emphasis on quality, on real craftsmanship, and that personal touch.
Yeah, and if we maybe zoom out for a second, connect this to the bigger picture. That significant investment people are making in a high-quality, handcrafted leather bag. It's not just about luxury. It's really a commitment to longevity. It's almost a statement against our sort of disposable culture.
Interesting angle.
And it raises a question, I think, for you to consider. Could true luxury, the kind defined by enduring craftsmanship, maybe even repairability, could that actually be one of the most sustainable choices you can make for your travel life?
That's a fantastic thought to end on. Really makes you think. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll consider some of these broader implications in your own choices.